All right, recording is on. So the agenda for tonight, this is our first ever meeting, so welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. We're going to do introductions, and then we're going to go over the mission, values, and goals of the Battlesnake 2019 project. We'll go over the code of conduct, how you contribute. We're going to go over all the repositories and what they mean, how they're hopefully going to join together, and who are the owners of those things. And then any other items, so anything you want to talk about or discuss, we'll open up at the end of the meeting and we can talk about all of those things. Right, so I'm going to screen share. Can everyone on the phone hear us okay? Everyone on the Zoom? Adam, Charlie?
All good.
Yep, all good.
Sounds good. I'm going to designate someone to keep an eye on the screen for anyone that wants to interrupt on the Zoom. If you can type a message into the chat, and that will pop up on the screen. The hand wave button does not work very well, so don't click that. Actually add something into the chat and say you want to interrupt, and then we'll stop talking and address that issue.
I will watch.
All right. All right, I'm going to share my screen. All right, this is a very 1.0 slide deck. There's no theme, there's no colors, it's just black text on white slides. And this was built by someone that wasn't me, so I might struggle through this. So Battlesnake really is Brad's kind of vision. I think he started this 5 years ago, and it's been going on since then. He's unfortunately on holiday. He really wanted to come. He's like, I'm going to see if I can get out my holiday, but he couldn't. So he can't be here, so I'm going to give it in his stead. But imagine all of this has been said by Brad. Okay, so Battlesnake 2019, what can we do if we really try? Like last week it was kind of a scramble, but last one it was kind of a scramble. The year before that was kind of a scramble. So this year we're going to start early, really early, and see how much we can get through and how solid we can make this for the event next year. All right, so the mission statement. Battlesnake will make programming fun and accessible for millions of people. That's our goal. That's what we want to try and accomplish. We want to have beginner programmers take part in this competition, not just in Victoria, but everywhere on Earth. We want millions of people to be involved as much as possible. That's our goal. And this is our tagline, programming for fun and glory. So come and battle your snakes. And these are our core values. These are the values that we think will help us disambiguate problems that we might face in the community together. So when we come up with something that we're not sure which direction we should go, and there's multiple ways we could go, we're going to try and come back to these core values to answer those kinds of questions. So this one, Battlesnake teaches real-world programming skills. We don't want this to be kind of a cut and paste, build a program, but you didn't really figure out anything on the way. We want it to be, you have to learn how to build a server in the real world and get that running and have a REST API connect to that and respond with encoding and so on and so forth. We want all of those skills to be baked into how this competition works and how the community solves those problems. We want Battlesnake to celebrate a broad range of skill levels. So this isn't for expert programmers, this is for people who have very little programming experience that can get on this learning curve and make incremental improvements. We want to encourage collaboration over competition. So the final output of this, Battlesnake 2019, obviously is a competition, but when it comes down to it, we want people to collaborate. We want teams of people to come together. We want this software that forms the basis of the competition software to be a collaborative environment. We want the community to help us build that this year. And we want to embrace open source software. So not just the software, but the practice of building open source software. So everything we do this year is going to be publicly available in open source repos. We're going to try and follow all the best practices that we can steal and copy from all the other open source projects that are out there. We want to build a community. So we want people all over the world to contribute to this. We want people to feel free to come to these events. We want mini Battlesnakes to happen elsewhere in the world. We want little forums to come together and produce these things. We're not sure what that's going to look like yet. We want to be fun to watch. We want the end result of Battlesnake to be breathtaking. We want it to go fast. We want to be able to pause it. We want to be able to have an amazing online experience and an amazing in-person experience in the event. And so that kind of talks to some of the ways that we're going to have to model and build this system out. So everything we do should relate directly to one or more of these values. This is the core of what we want to do. If you think of any others or come across any problems that these values don't answer, let us know and we'll add more as we go. Questions about the mission or values? All good. Question?
You said something about it is not for expert programmers. I believe you meant to put not just for
I did indeed mean not just expert programmers.
Yeah, expert programmers.
Yeah, we'll edit that in the YouTube video later. Like an annotation, maybe. So our goals this year to have 1,000+ attendees at Battlesnake 2019. That's where we want to get to. We were pretty close last year. So last year we had 600 attendees, and the breakout is 75 volunteers, 125 spectators, and 400 people actually building snakes and doing stuff. And so we think we can increase the number of spectators massively. We can do more marketing, and then volunteers and participants, I think, will go up naturally as we have something like Snake Down running in the background that's encouraging people to participate before the event. So I'm going to stop there. We're going more into the technical slide. I won't get into any of that stuff. I'm going to go over to the community repo. So we created a new organization called Battlesnake.io. So you can get to it. It's on the board there, github.com/Battlesnake.io. And we pinned a bunch of repositories on here. We're going to talk about these more in detail later, but I'm going to start with the community one, which goes into some of the points in the agenda. So this is the README for it. The layout is as we come across things or questions that need to be answered or processes that we need to add, we will add them into the community repositories. All of our sub-repositories will point back to this repository saying, hey, we have questions or whatever. This is the place where you should start.
Yes, right now it's mostly BCN in Seattle, but some people are starting to come in from...
Could you read the question?
Oh, sorry, yes. They are the people who this competition is open for, is mainly those in BC and Seattle. So I believe the answer is we only really do get BC and Seattle folk right now, but the goal is to also pull it from elsewhere.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so we're going to look at the code of conduct. So we just use the CNCF code of conduct because we thought it had everything that we cared about. So this is by Kubernetes.
CNCF stands for Cloud Native Computing Foundation.
So as contributors and maintainers of this project, and in the interest of fostering an open and welcoming community, we pledge to respect all people who contribute through reporting issues, posting feature requests, updating documentation, submitting pull requests or patches, and other activities. We are committed to making participation in this project a harassment-free, somebody's leaving, a harassment-free experience for everyone. I'm not involved in this at all now. All right, well, there you go. Good thing we read this. Harassment-free experience for everyone, regardless of level or experience, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, disability, personal appearance, body size, race, ethnicity, age, religion, or nationalities. Examples of unacceptable behavior by participants include the use of sexualized language or imagery, personal attacks, trolling or insulting or derogatory comments, public or private harassment, publishing others' private information such as physical or electronic addresses without explicit permission, using unethical or unprofessional conduct of any kind. Project maintainers have the right and responsibility to remove, edit, and reject comments, commits, code, wiki edits, issues, and other contributions that are not aligned to this code of conduct. By adopting this code of conduct, project maintainers commit themselves to fairly and consistently applying these principles to every aspect of managing this project. Project maintainers who do not follow or enforce the code of conduct may be permanently removed from the project team. And they all work for SEN with us, so that will be a problem for their jobs as well. This code of conduct applies both within project spaces and in public spaces when an individual is representing the project or its community. Instances of abusive, harassing, or otherwise unacceptable behavior may be reported by contacting us, not the CNCF, at the addresses in the README. That's essentially it. It's pretty standard. Be nice, be accepting, and encourage people to take part and join in. Okay, so I'm going to go round each of the repo owners for each of them to explain what their repository is and what it does. I will start off, sorry, put people on the spot here. So I'll start with docs, because I believe this is me and Brad. So this is the documentation server. This is where all the docs will eventually generate from. This is a work in progress. There's not a lot in here yet, but any of the API documentation, all of that stuff will be in here for your reference.
So one interesting thing in there is Brad's been working on an updated spec for the Snake server, and that's already in there as a Swagger document, right there. So if you're interested, it is different than last year already. But if anyone has comments or suggestions for it, we're definitely open to that.
If you copy and paste it into like a Swagger editor, you can see a nice UI version instead of.
We have the roadmap repository, and this is where we are going to keep track of all the issues for all the projects. So don't put issues in the individual repos, put them in this repo, and then tag them with metadata fields. I know this has gone off the rails already. Some people are putting issues into their own repos, but
Yep.
we'll get better at this over time.
I broke that.
So this is our entire backlog. This is where all the work, if you want to find something to do or something to contribute to, and you don't know what you want to do, then have a browse through this and create a pull request and see how it goes. Community we've had a look at. I'll just go over it slightly. So this is all the repos broken out. So in each one of these repo boards, there is a description of what it is and who owns it if you want to talk to someone. So we go into community. We actually have the GitHub username handles. We're going to use GitHub username handles for everything. There's going to be no email addresses in here as per our code of conduct. You don't need permission to use a GitHub handle of someone inside the organization. There is a contributing guide inside, which I can't get to. This is a bug in GitHub. So
Yeah.
I'm going to open this in an incognito window, and then I'll be able to see it. So I raised an issue with them actually about this, and they said they'd get back to me at some point. But this is because we're signed into our single sign-on organization, I feel, and therefore there's something conflicting.
Yeah, it works fine when I'm signed into my personal account.
Yeah, your personal accounts will be fine, so don't worry about that 500. But if you want to go and F5 it,
It doesn't work for mine. I'm not on yours, so
Do you have
My
SSO
personal
enabled?
No.
Oh, does it work for your personal?
I don't think so.
Weird.
okay, we should definitely look into that because our community is going to suffer if they can't access any of the files.
Just say, please browse everything incognito. You can't
It'll
read
be fine.
It's for tracking purposes. Right, so this is the contributing doc. So all of the repos will have a contributing doc that points back to this one. This is the process that we want everyone to follow. We may update this as we go, but right now, essentially the process for contributing is to fork and clone your repo, make sure all the tests pass before you do anything, make your change and test your change, make the test pass, and push your fork and submit a pull request. And then the repo owners, hopefully within 24 to 48 hours, will get back to you with comments or concerns or merge it in. Please try and write a good pull request description so we know what we're looking at. Don't just assume we'll understand from your code what's going on. The mission and values are also in here. There's also a meetups folder, a meetings folder. So each one of the meetings we will have meeting notes, and those will be written up, which you can access in the incognito window. And then the recording will be posted here as well. So this is a link to YouTube, and you can go and see that. And there may be annotations on the YouTube video if we have that kind of time to play with. Okay, let's move on to engine.
Yeah, this is the core Battlesnake rules engine. Basically, mostly what was the Docker container from last year, pretty much the same. It's a brand new rewrite though, in Go instead of Elixir this year. So I'm not an Elixir dev, and that became very apparent at the tournament. It's actually mostly functional. Like you can run games on it. There's obviously a bunch of pieces missing. It's very MVP.
What is the CLI?
Huh?
Engine CLI?
There is a CLI for doing stuff, and I wrote a little console-based viewer for games because there's no embedded game board right now, so it just runs the games and you couldn't see anything. So I just built a little CLI viewer to run to see. Do a replay sort of thing.
I think it runs in text.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
Curses.
Board.
This will be the game board. I think none of the code owners is here right now. Yeah. So what you saw on screen last year, that's what this repo will be, right? Maintaining that board. It's its own project instead of being embedded with the game server.
Do you know what they're writing us in yet? They made any choices?
React, probably.
React, probably. It's probably going to be in React, so if you're interested in that.
Yeah.
And then Play.
So this will be the URL play.stakedown.io, and it will be
Snake.io.
yeah, that's the one. Sorry, long day. But this will be where all the teams, users, and snakes will be stored, and how you can go and create a game, run a game, where all the administration will happen for admins, all the Naughty Snake stuff will happen. So as Brad described it, where I go to do Battle Snake. And I'm writing this, or I'm trying to push for this to be written with Django, with models, and then server-side rendering at first, really basic, and maybe down the road, if I can get the time or get community help, I'm hoping to shift it over so it's entirely just the ORM and the models are being pulled out of the database with a GraphQL server, and then it can be client-side rendered and pulled and all that dynamically. Chris had his hand up.
So does Board interact with Play and Play interact with Engine? Does Board interact with Engine ever?
So Play will be able to push to create a game to Engine, and Play will, I believe, have an iframe in to the board. So the board can then be pulled in because you'll just have a URL for like, here's the game ID.
Could be that, or it could even redirect to a board URL, but the board itself will go directly to the engine to get the frames to display.
Play has UI as well as Board has UI as well.
Yes.
Well, board is only UI for
Only
the
the
specific
board.
for the game.
Got it.
And whereas so that's for the board. The board will put in, I'll get that in a second. The board will pull all the information out of Engine, whereas Play will be attempting to be all the management and like the wrapper stuff of all the resources. There's the text here. You can also speak up if you want to read this out yourself.
Hey guys, can you guys hear me?
Totally. Yeah, great.
Oh, awesome. I was just wondering, like, if someone wants to contribute to the board repo or whatever, and they decide to work on one of the issues. Is there any way that, is there something I need to, say something somewhere so that me and person like X and Y don't end up working on the same issue?
So assign yourself to it, maybe?
Okay.
Yeah, if there's an issue, right now because it's so new, it's probably best to talk in person with the code owner and they can coordinate. But as these repos become more mature and we have more issues, I would definitely assign yourself to an issue in the roadmap repo sort of thing, or comment on the issue, say, hey, I'm looking into this sort of thing.
Okay, cool. And then if there's any roadblocks or something, then just say that as well, and then someone else can look into that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Are we going to do all of our communication through the YYJ text Slack?
So we'd like to keep as much of the communication in the actual tickets.
Okay.
So if you get blocked by something or you've done something interesting, so in your pull requests and have the conversation thread in there.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, there is a Battlesnake Slack channel that we have as well. So we're going to add all of the contributors and all the community to that specific Slack. So the specific Slack, because the YY check has too many messages, we'll lose history too quickly. And so we want to standardize on Battlesnake, which may become paid for if we get lots of sponsorship. But we're getting the Australian band in first. That's where all the money's going.
So you don't need the Python play to actually test the game. Like if you had a snake and I was able to run right now, you'd only need the engine and the board. Is that what?
Well, yeah. Board is non-existent. So if you wanted to look at something like right now, you just use the engine and then use the engine CLI to view it. It doesn't look very good.
Can you show us one?
Yeah.
I really want to see it. Not right now, but get it set up.
The intent here is that we want to eventually, and we don't have a repo for it yet, but we want to eventually, when we have all these pieces hammered out, build out native binaries for every OS.
Yeah.
So then you can run just the board game, enter your snake URL.
So we want to make everything really easy for local dev as well, right? So one of the artifacts will be like a single binary, because a lot of the people at the tournament still have Windows laptops, right? So Docker does not work well on Windows. So that's another reason to move to Go is it has very good cross-compiling abilities. So it's very easy to compile a Windows binary, just give them a single executable that contains everything to be able to run it, and to increase the accessibility for everyone.
And play is mostly just for persistence and
the web UI for
So
play
like
would not be
administration or something
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
games and whatnot, and teams and things
Yeah.
like that, I think.
exactly yeah.
And play will be in charge of like pushing the engine to start a game, right?
For those for one started through the UI, but you can pull everything down and run it locally too. So
Yeah.
engine can be used in multiple places,
Yeah.
but we'll have engine running somewhere, and play will then be able to push the game to have engine start.
Yeah, like we're hoping to have it accessible on the internet, so that you can just create games, whatever. But if you want like faster feedback cycle and work locally, also provide a way to do that.
So play may incorporate down the road something like Snakedown, so that we can just have here's how the tournament goes, and here's where you can go to run your leaderboard or whatever we're going to call it.
So we have one final repository, which I'll talk about. Colin, do you want to talk about this? The infrastructure?
Sure.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to be in here.
Sorry.
The infrastructure.
So
Thanks, Colin.
we're planning to do everything in the open, right? So even how we deploy the play server, the engine server, things like Terraform scripts will be in here. Everything so that if you wanted to go and spin up your own, you'd have the ability to do that. Obviously, access keys and all that sort of stuff, secrets will be kept out, but it's the raw Terraform type files to spin up infrastructure.
Yeah, our goal is to use Google Cloud and Kubernetes.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a bunch of fun doing that. So if you're interested, Matthew also, who works in some of this, is going to be working on this.
Yeah, I think he's going to be probably the main point of contact at first for that.
Yeah.
All right, so that's all I wanted to cover in this meeting, so I'll open it up. So let me check the agenda. Is anything else? Any other ones? Nope, that's it. So we want to open it up to questions from the community, or anyone have any specific questions they want to talk about?
I don't really understand what play is for again. Is that just the whole site? Is that right?
Yeah, the website.
Okay.
So the website that says the website that people log into go and run a game when they're just wanting to test like for a first year university student who's not running locally yet. They could log in and put in their URL and say, "Oh, this is my Snake," and they could go and create it. Cool. They can create teams. They can add their friends. They won't have it capitalized sensitive this time around for GitHub username.
It's basically like what the admin site was at the last Battlesnake plus whatever other ideas we have to put in there, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask about sort of like the matchmaking thing that I had last year. Are we going to incorporate something like that?
I do
Because
hope
people
so.
could run that locally too, right? Like I found it super useful to be able to basically continually run my bots against each other.
Yeah.
So something like that would be.
We've had thoughts around like a leaderboard running year round sort of thing,
Okay.
and just always up. So yeah, definitely on in our heads for ideas around that.
Yeah, and I think that would be put into what I'm hoping to do is have for that component is
Mhm.
the teams would be able to have multiple snakes but only flag one for the tournament.
Okay.
So then they could do the same thing where they have bids in like 10 different iterations, but really only one of them gets entered in the tournament.
I have a few questions.
Yeah.
Is the general feature set going to be defined ahead of time by you guys that have already started, or is it going to be organic and based on what contributors want to do that makes sense?
It's a good question. So our thoughts around this are that we have a missing role that we haven't identified, we haven't given to someone yet, which is like the game master, the person who's most responsible for what Battlesnake 2019 will look like and feel like. And that person from an event perspective, but ideas absolutely should come from the community. Like we think it would be fantastic if we had this or that or whatever. There are some minimum viable stuff that we need to get done. Like we have to have bounty snakes because that's part of our sponsorship package. We have to have a way that snakes can die. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we know we have to have, which will be part of our MVP. And so a bunch of the tickets in the issues in the roadmap repo have like MVP tagged onto them. And so that's going to be our first gasp. We want to get all of that done, halfway through this year. essentially. And then anything else would be amazing.
I've been told that I'm not allowed to put my hat in the ring for being the game master because it would be too chaotic.
Sort of on that, it might be exactly what he was asking, but in terms of the game rules, are they going to differ much next year? Are we coming up with a new set of criteria for like win conditions, or because a couple of years ago it was totally different than it was last year? Right? Are we doing?
I have ideas there.
That's for the game master to.
Okay, so that's
so
okay.
to start, the rules will basically be the same as last year, right?
Okay.
Basic, pure snake, and then it's the game master's job to evaluate things, and that's one of the things with John. Like John has lots and lots of ideas, but it'd be up to the game master to take that, test them for like game balance, see if they're game breaking, because an idea may be really, really easy to win with a certain condition sort of thing, right? And so you want to be really careful what tweaks you make there, and that's on the game master to figure that out.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to come up with sort of a tiered difficulty too, right? Because last year, I know there was talk of implementing walls into the game, so maybe we could have different tiers for beginners where there's no walls and it's just some sort of rectangular board, and then you can go up in difficulty and have sort of like a random layout kind of thing to it or something.
We've had thoughts around like most of the divisions are pure, same as last year, and there's a special division for like craziness that just has like portals on the board or like Mario Kart power-ups or whatever. And so we, similar to that, like we've had ideas around.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say because I think it was back in 2016 that was done, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of wondering, if that was to occur, right? What would it necessarily look like if we were to have because obviously there's talks about the walls and talking about like diminishing food supply over time instead. But I'm just kind of wondering, are we gonna still have like what would kind of differentiate like a beginner versus an advanced, I guess, in that sense?
That would be game master could answer that.
Okay.
So we can tell you what we think, but we're gonna assign a role, and they're gonna be the one who gets to lead the charge there.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but add every idea you had to issues, like add everything in there, because that's gonna be like the stuff that role goes through and figures out.
Okay, cool.
One thought that I had heard tossed around, which I really like the idea of, is having there being a testing ground for like variants.
Yes.
So like most online games that we have these days, there's like the beta server, which is testing weird mechanics.
Yeah.
You can turn on, you can adjust your snake to play there, and then they can figure out if it is balanced. That might be a way we can test new mechanics without breaking the game at the tournament level.
Yeah, I was gonna say because actually Nandy's talking about. I think actually having a beta server so that if we were going to experiment with different mechanics, say compared to years before, I think would be a good idea. Generally, just to have an idea, see is this actually going to work out at a larger scale?
Yeah. So it's a good idea, but whatever the game master says, and totally agree.
How often are these meetings going to be happening?
Great question. So the community we have a meeting every week for Battlesnake. The community meetings are every 2 weeks, and then interspliced in those we have the internals send with us stand up just to make sure the event is moving forward. But these community events are going to be every 2 weeks. That's what they are right now. That might be too much, it might be too little, but we'll adjust as we need. And those are all in the meetings folder in community. So each date is marked on there. You want to go and add those to your calendar.
Yeah.
If this meeting is in your calendar right now, it repeats every 2 weeks. And I'll update the agenda every week, and I'll update that if it's cancelled or we're moving it or for whatever reason.
So we have 3 front ends, I think, for Battlesnake. We have Corey's, and then there's the Elixir server, and then there's the actual one we used this year. Are we still going to rebuild it?
So the Elixir server and the one we use this year, they're the same thing. So we need to rebuild it because of the API coming to the engine is probably going to be different. It's currently written in Elm. I don't think Gem knows Elm at all. So for those 2 reasons, it will be rewritten into something that Gem's more confident in maintaining.
Is there going to be anyone doing like a UI design or doing anything?
Yeah. I think
Stephen's definitely in. So we have our Semblers designer who's thrown his hat into doing work on this. So he'll be available for mocking up all kinds of craziness.
But then actually building out the CSS and JS and whatever, still up to all of us.
Yeah, I've got a question too. Do you have a roadmap in mind for at what point we can expect like the API to be locked down, or at what point breaking changes will be introduced?
No. we do want to have a point where the API will be mostly unchanging. Like I would say like July, we want no backwards breaking changes in the API at all. That'd be my guess, but we don't have a firm date yet.
I mean, I would say for sure by the time we announce Battlesnake 2019 and the date, the API will be locked down by then for sure.
Yeah.
Prior to that, it's probably, I'd say it's open for the tournament to change.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And given the changes that happened over the the changes from last year to this year, or the past previous years, somebody released a Python library that function that just adjusted the payload to switch so that you could run your old code against the new API.
Right.
So we can still provide a helper like that.
I just had a question. Maybe this would be a question for someone who was a beginner at the tournament this year, but were the templates useful for anybody? Do people use the templates? They're like
template
snakes.
Actually, I mean, I did. And I'm like an experienced programmer. I still find it useful just to make sure I knew like how it was supposed to work.
Just like should we make them for?
Like I like that more than documentation. Just seeing like an example of how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, we want to have an example snake in all the language we can muster.
So that might also be like another repo.
I think
it should be.
I think
they've already moved in to what repo they moved into.
I think that's just started copying them over.
Yeah, the node snake is in Battlesnake.io right now. So we're just going to move them over and make sure that they work with the new.
We'll have to maintain them and update them. And if you want to commit to those and help maintain those, because it takes effort to just go and visit in every language.
Cool.
I was just gonna say that just having this. Just building on what you're saying. I think having this template snakes still up is really important because a lot of people are first-time programmers, and there's a lot of first-years who come to this event. So it's really good that they are not kind of dropped into Shark of Tanks.
Yeah. I think having the
Tank of Sharks. Tank of Sharks. My brain's really broken for the semester, so it's just like I'm just getting backward. But it's like a Tank of Sharks basically, because it's just like actually having that, even if you're an events programmer, right? So at least you get the gist of the event before the event actually starts. So that way you're kind of not like freaking out for like 6 hours straight.
We might just want to make sure that like maybe the Git repos that have the sample snakes should have like a version number of what API version it's updated to or something, just in case it falls behind, so it's clear.
That would be really good. Actually,
There's, I guess like just on top of that, like that there should also be in the repo a deployment like plan, I guess as well. So that the fact that you can just run an Elixir server locally, if it was an Elixir template, how do you actually put that onto Heroku, or how do you actually put that onto
They have
AWS?
the deploy with Heroku button that you can build into them in the Markdown. In the Markdown of the Python one, we threw that in. I don't know who did that or how that worked, but it was basically like a fork the repo, push it in, and so it was like an instant deployment mechanism that forked into your local GitHub and pushed it, created a repo or a project in Heroku and everything. So we should do that everything.
Yeah, you can. Sorry, just also saying. You can also manually deploy from Heroku. So once you hook it up, you just let it run basically, and it shows you the whole build log right inside the website. So it's actually you got two. The people have actually two ways. But if we were to actually have video tutorials, just like quickly showing that, probably.
I think Ben has started doing the videos this year. He did a bunch of videos on building a snake and getting. I don't know how far he went, but apparently they were quite useful for like.
Okay, cool. I didn't get to see the videos, so yeah, that's actually that's the case. That's great.
Oh, there's a message. Heading out. Okay. Nice meeting you.
Oh, he still will get the recording.
Oh,
Bye.
But yeah, I think those should still be the same person.
It'd be nice if on the Battlesnake page we had a assembly of, or like a section of links to template snakes for all the different languages that the new beginner registrants might know. I think definitely Java Snake is necessary.
So these are great ideas, and like I recommend like throwing an issue up in the roadmap and then we can make sure that's tracked and gets done so we don't forget it.
Do you want ideas to be issues as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like everything that everyone's saying here would be great to be in the issues because then we can have somebody prioritize and make sure, and we can talk.
Everyone can put their thumbs down icon on there.
Yeah.
You can sort the thumbs up now. That's
So-
amazing.
You had the Java snake would be useful.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, because it's like that's what they teach you. That's the 115 and 110.
Yeah.
Because we have like
We
we.
want enterprise snake.
Java, no EE snake.
You just have to have lots of factories and observers and all that stuff.
So somebody wrote a Java base snake, and I didn't think it got used very much. So
we never really promoted it though.
no, but we do put the link there.
But the problem with Java is it's hard to deploy. So if we included a deploy story with the Java snake, it might get used more.
Yeah, cool. And he's
Had
well.
a Heroku profile. Didn't it?
I think
It might have. I don't know.
I pushed Tony to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
to try and get it to easy to deploy doc notes on it, but I don't know how good it was.
Yeah.
I never tried it.
Yeah, getting the deploy to Heroku button on all the starter snakes, that's like a perfect task.
Yeah.
It's great. You can like pretty much copy paste the same one to all of them.
Yeah.
A lot of the documentation stuff is also going to be super useful, like access somewhere where everyone can contribute as well, and community explanations and answers and stuff. Like it's not entirely code, so like we're not great at updating docs, but that's something we should get better at. Or, I'm not great at updating docs,
And I'm worse than John, so.
Pull requests will be rejected if they don't have documentation.
but we're owners of read books.
That's true. The community ones will be rejected.
And everybody can complain about ours.
So I was wondering about something. Last time we talked, you mentioned there was some discussion of whether we want to continue with the like everyone just run their own server wherever they want thing, or if we wanted to try and come up with some creative way to have everyone on the same land or something like that. Is that still on the table, or has any decisions been
I
made there?
believe that I tried to pitch we'll put a Docker file in your repo, give us a webhook for when it gets pushed to, and then we'll build the Docker image and push it, and we'll run it all yourself. And then suddenly that breaks one of the.
Yeah, Brad feels very strongly. It really helped to teach real world programming skills to get things deployed somewhere.
And that would be hard to do.
Yeah.
That's a full team of people working for an entire year to get that.
Yeah, so it'd be terribly hard to do, and also it doesn't teach people, like, it breaks one of the mandates, which we can all get behind, that it's teaching real world programming skills and how to get your own service.
And I guess this is more of an expert thing, so maybe it's not that big a deal. But are we still okay then that some people might have better hardware than other people? Is that just no big deal?
Again, this will be the game master decision if we're going to like pare down the amount of hardware you're allowed to throw at your snake. That might be like a great way of saying the expert round, you have limited hardware. And you have to prove that you use limited hardware. But it's just
all my ideas revolve around like an array of supercomputers.
Now we go back to the budget. Go for it. What's up? Do this game for me.
I will say this: the conference center. We spoke to them after the event, said, "Hey, we need the Wi-Fi to vet for next year because there were so many people, and there's going to be more next year." And so they're actually upgrading to fiber all their infrastructure, and they should be able to deal with way more people next year. So that's looking promising. We'll keep you up.
I'll believe it when we see it.
It's actually, that might be.
Remember, this is going on the internet. Be friendly to our sponsors.
There just might be a contingency plan to run it locally. I don't know, or a locally hosted server or something. That wouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, locally hosted in if the last time it was a connection issue between getting from their laptops out to watch the games. The games could run fine under the hood, but we couldn't really watch the games because we couldn't pull down information. But they provided fiber, an Ethernet cable straight to the desk at the front. So then when we ran the projectors off of, or what was on the projectors at the final tournament, those were off of a laptop that was wired in. So there was no networking problems there.
Cool.
The final tournament, we kind of have a good plan and workaround for, or not workaround, but good solution. But it seems like they've got a good solution. Or they're upgrading the hardware.
Also, wasn't there an issue with folks putting in like YouTube links for their images?
YouTube link for
or was it GIFs?
Snake, but we should handle that. So think of every every type of snake that somebody's going to write where it's going to screw up and where it's going to blow up in some capacity. The game server should handle that. The game engine should handle that. So we should throw corrupt snakes at.
Add unit tests for YouTube links.
Yeah.
Build a denial of service snake.
Well, that's why we don't push the opponent snake URLs out in the game state. Because a couple of years ago we did that. And we all were honest and nobody did a DDoS attack on other snakes. But you could have because you knew where they were. That's why we don't provide that.
Snakedown actually leaked that for the first couple days. I had to get rid of it because I realized that.
I could have gone and looked at everybody's like, oh, and then I could go and find the URL, then find
I spent quite a bit of time going through it because I was like, somebody's going to abuse this. Nobody did that I know of, but yeah, it was vulnerable for a while.
I use that feature.
That's when my snake blew up.
Any other questions? Generally, how does everyone feel? Did this cover all the questions that you had? You're jazzed about writing code? Is everyone gonna go home tonight and be like, I'm staying up for 4 hours?
I wish.
Cool. Awesome.
Actually, one other thing. This might be a little too in the weeds, but are we gonna make any like coding guidelines, like pull requests should be a single commit or anything like that, or is it more like
first? I think it's too large. It's really up to the code owner to say, hey, split this up. It's kind of big to evaluate, and I'd say it'd be on the code owners for that repo to make that call.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have a feel for that yet. So as we get more pull requests, we're like, hey, we should add this to our contribution guide.
And then
If you want to add stuff there.
Yeah, we can talk about it on the next one of these meetings. So just the pull requests are kind of big. Let's pare them down a bit. And it's not going to be hard to have a conversation on that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the repos. A lot of the repos are in the state where they just have a README in them. So we'll just have to see it in a few weeks.
Will we have a style / consistency guide for all of our code? That would be right.
I did. I looked at the consistency guide, but then I realized I'd have to do one for every language. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I was like, I wanted to do it, and I was like, I'm not going to do it. So if you want to add one for a specific language, create a pull request in the contribution guide in the community repo, and we'll review it. And if we agree with it, we'll merge it in. Yeah. So we would like one, but I didn't want to do it.
Go is easy. It's just Go format.
Yeah.
That's only one.
There's already a linting check for it. So if your code isn't Go formatted, it will fail to build.
Yeah, I was figuring for Pepe and for Go, basically Go format, but I was actually wondering more for JavaScript because obviously we're going to be using React.
Yeah, so Gem is all up on that. He'll probably set up some sort of prettier config.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we use prettier. He'll probably use that.
If there's no other questions, I can show off the amazing console.
Let's do it. Please, stay with me.
We're all waiting for
All right. There we go. Okay. So we're gonna run the server over here. Server's running. I've got my snake running there, and we're gonna go make run game. So this ran a game. You can see the engine's doing stuff. The snake is responding to stuff, and then we can go and if I can type engine CLI. Command replay.
H.
Yeah, actually, there's a -H. So
There you go.
more help. There you go. It is replay. There we go. Replay -G. And there we go. Woo!
That's really cool. Can you plus? Can we make it bigger?
What is it using?
Yeah. It's just using it's called Go term or something like that, some Go terminal library. It just clears the console and then starts redrawing it 1-1.
It's very ambiguous where the head of the snake is.
Yeah.
You've not implemented the colors.
The game's finished. It looks like the one in the bottom right there ran off the screen.
That's amazing.
Nope, the game's. Oh, I know what happened. The game's actually still going, but it doesn't actually. When you call replay, it just grabs a copy of the current state and runs through that. So the game's not actually done. It just didn't have any more state.
Like it's actually kind of fun if that was the production.
Very 1980s, yeah.
Literally a terminal
there we
pulled
go.
open on
The
the
game's
projector.
That would snake down.
That would be totally 80s.
So if I use X's and zeros, that's way unclear.
This was a slow reader issue.
Have
Everyone data read fast enough for the.
Well, I don't have any socket steps. So it's just like give me the status of the game at the point you run it, and it just showed that subset of game ticks.
Okay, so it just ran out of data.
Yeah, and so but now that the game's done, it will run all the way to the end.
Cool.
Yeah. There you go. It needs lots of work.
I'll just file like 20 issues. Don't worry.
Yeah.
All right. So there's nothing else.
Actually,
One
I
more.
thought of another question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so for this competition this year, my team put some efforts towards making some utilities for just like general, like helping out the AI development. And I mean, we didn't really finish them, but I was curious if you'd be interested in like kind of a community-led project for just finishing some of these utilities and adding them into the official like tools for developers. To be like an example of that was, just general utilities to parse through game replays to find, so if you run 50 games overnight and you want to find specific results out of those, find those. Or another one that we had was like a UI where you could paint out a scenario and then put that into a server to like start from that state. Yeah, I know that that one would cause some issues in some of the other areas of the project, but I was just curious if you'd be interested.
Yeah, I think a few people have their sort of own like homebrew.
Yeah,
Corey did something like that, right?
Yeah,
And I did like an ASCII thing like that, so it would probably be a good idea. I think a lot of people would want that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is really a time issue, right? Because everyone has a full-time job already. I think it's a great idea, and we would love to own it. But we want to find out because we want to make sure that Battlestate 2019 happens first. Like that's our primary goal. So we will take on as much work as we can that we're comfortable with, and if we have room or gaps or stuff like that, we'll consider bringing on new projects that we might want to start.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was curious about. Was that I understand that like I wouldn't want to leech off any administrative work from you guys, but I'd be comfortable leading some of those efforts on specific projects myself. I'd just be curious of interactions between that and
let's have more conversations about it later. I think. Do you have points on this?
Maybe kind of to get halfway to what you want there. If we had like an official sort of third-party list, or like tools and utility lists as part of the Battlesnake. Yeah.
Yeah,
we probably have something like
We
that.
can create an awesome Battlesnake list.
Yeah, this is something like I'll just keep in touch on Slack about it.
Yeah.
Or even file an issue in the roadmap. Like, this is what I'm thinking about, and then get feedback from the community about various things. We can feel it out.
It's all open source anyway, right? So like, get that link, and it doesn't really make that much of a difference if it's in or not.
Right.
Yeah.
If a pull request comes in to say put an extra tool like that into Play repo or any repo, but if a pull request comes in that's not on our roadmap and it's just an extra feature, well, should that be something that I'm looking at? Would we accept it or would we reject it based on our timeline? Based on that,
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because every feature equals some maintenance.
Yeah, there's some maintenance there. So if you made this beautiful tool but it's buggy, then
yeah.
But if the tool is entirely external,
then
because like this is maybe super optimistic, but if it turned out everyone who's in this meeting went home and like actively wanted to contribute, it might actually be that would be our biggest problem, like trying to make people not step on each other's toes and stuff like that. And if that is the case, then making completely separate, independently versioned tools that we can drop or whatever if they don't work or something like that.
Right.
It makes it easier to parallelize work.
Maybe it would be super simple to have a repo that was like community tools and it was just a README file with links to people's GitHub repos or something. Right?
Yeah.
And then we can just nuke them if they're
That's a pull request I would absolutely take on. Is like pull request into the community repo. There's like other tools, third-party tools, stuff. I have the list of those. Yeah, absolutely, I would take that.
Yeah, cool.
And then down the road, if we could integrate them, like I think that's a good
Incubate
idea.
them and then
Yeah.
have little snakelets. Really cool.
The scenario drawing thing would be really cool.
Oh,
That
that's
was
a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just in the main app, and you could draw a scenario and like put in your snake heroes. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, we never like quite got that working with our server, but that was
last year before that we had it working.
Yeah, that's true. That makes it. I think that makes it especially helpful for going from beginner to the intermediate, because all of a sudden, once you start like trying to figure out how do I get out of an enclosed space, like you kind of have to run like game after game until that happens. Otherwise,
Would it be like, sorry, that's going down rabbit hole. Maintain your list of test scenarios and like you can draw new ones, you can save them from games, and you can build like a list of thousands of test scenarios you want to run.
That's precisely what I did last year.
Yeah.
I had like 100 different test cases that I took from Snakedown, and I just built my bot to basically beat all of them.
That's what I did.
There was also edge cases in the game engine in the Elixir engine, where it's just like /test would give you, here's a list of very simple edge cases, but it got you a good way there.
Yeah,
cool.
It's super useful.
And another like issue that I foresee that's more pessimistic is like if there's like a GitHub issue and we decide, okay, let's do this new feature, it's a good idea, and someone says, hey, I'll take it, and we go, okay, cool, it's assigned to this person, and then they just they get busy or they just don't do it. I guess maybe that's up to that maintainer to be like, okay, this is important, we're going to reassign somebody else. Or,
Yeah, you give them like a couple weeks, then ping them. If you still don't hear anything for another week or two, like obviously depending on how close we are getting to the event, but yeah, it's up to the maintainer to just try and keep contact, and if they don't hear, have to move it on to someone else.
Yeah, so I think maintainers have the authority to just sort of say, you've not responded, you've gone AFK, let's reissue.
It's kind of like a good manners kind of thing more than anything, right? Nothing that would stop. It's open source. You could just make a PR, and if it works well, I mean, who's going to turn down?
I just know, like, my experience with open source is sometimes you want to try to avoid like situations where three people working on the same thing, and some people don't have like the psychology for like a competitive PR situation, and then people get mad and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun.
Just gonna troll other people and find what they're doing and then make a PR that's the same thing. Like, just avoid it in a different way.
Well,
Slightly better
we talked about using
Less than
Django,
seconds.
and then someone internally decided to throw up a Rails app in play just to see how it would.
Like, and the title was "Merge This Without Looking."
Yeah. I won't give names.
I don't know who did that.
Honestly, I looked at some Ruby code there, like, hey, this is more readable than I thought. Now I would be less grumbly about that, but it's Django. Django got merged in. The models are on pull requests that you're tagged in. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thanks to the community for showing up. Really appreciate it. We're excited. I didn't expect so many people to come. I thought we were gonna get like 3 people. That's awesome. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
Give us lots of issues.
Yeah.
Give Daniel lots of issues.
So there are people on Zoom.
Right.